Center City Church.
You
Pastor Ashley.
already know. I'm going to do that every time.
I like it. I just feel uncomfortable doing it myself. So I'll say what's up.
You already know.
It's Pastor Ashley alongside Pastor John, and we are so happy to get a chance to dig into this multiplier series a little bit more this week. So I'm just going to dive right in.
Awesome. Let's
do it.
We
have so much to talk about, and one of the things that just blew me away in the message this week was this metaphor where you talked about the church as different types of ships. And I was wondering if we could just kind of talk about those different models a little bit and land on the aircraft carrier and
Awesome.
what that looks like.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, so there was 3 models we talked about. Specifically, we started with the cruise ship. I think that's the one that most people kind of see happening today. I've not been on a cruise. My parents go on them all the time. And I know that even the way that cruises are advertised, it's about programs and entertainment.
Yes, and all-you-can-eat buffets.
And all-you-can-eat
I
buffets.
have been on a cruise.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, so maybe you should tell us a little bit about some of the comparisons here in a second. But
I'm always to talk
Yeah,
about it.
awesome.
You don't have to preach at
that
it.
would be great. But really in the message, just to kind of set the foundation of the conversation, the cruise ship is the one that I'm a little more concerned with where we're at today. Just this idea that churches are built around programs and entertainment. Programs that feed me, entertainment that kind of soothes me. And as long as the entertainment factor and the programming fits my family, then that's the church I'm going to, because that's where and we've used this term before, that's where my family gets fed, which is really kind of, again, we use it as a spiritual term, but really when you look at it in all sides, there is a consumer's mentality there.
Yeah, I wonder a little bit. I had a conversation with someone this week, and I genuinely don't remember who it was, so this is not me sub-podcasting anyone. But they were talking specifically about family ministry and helping some of their family members find a church that had a good family ministry, a better one than the one where they were. And I think it's just kind of a hard thing to wrestle with, because you do want kids to have great opportunity to learn and know Jesus. So how do we kind of
That's a great question.
With that line?
Well, listen, as a youth pastor for 20 years, I believe in family ministry. But even then, I believe in family ministry, not family programming. And even as because it's an important question when you're stepping into a community. I don't like calling it picking a church, because picking a church sounds like you're picking an afternoon activity.
Or we even call it church shopping.
Yeah, church shopping, which I just think is so horrible. Like, you're stepping into community with people, meaning these are the people that I'm going to share my life with. These are the people that I'm going to be lock and step with. These are the people that I'm going to do not only serve in ministry alongside, but develop ministry together. This is the people who collectively, even in our generosity, we're going to partner to do great things. I think we belittle it when it's just about considering program. But with that said, when you consider, all right, is this a community that my family can be enriched by? Is this a community that we're going to step into? Even with what happens for family life, what happens in children's ministry, what happens in youth ministry, do you see a heart for your kids, not just to be fed, but to feed others? For me, a big sign of that is if everything's about, hey, come to this big event, and none of it's about how you can find discipleship opportunities for your students. Here, one of the things we believe here is that every kid should experience some form of missions opportunity between when they step into high school and they graduate. So a big part of even what we do with Kingdom Builders is just an example. Our hope is to financially be able to say, in your 4 years, if you're a high school student, we want to send you as a church, we want to help financially send you to some of these missions opportunities where you can experience what God is doing in other countries. That to me is an example of a family life ministry that I feel comfortable plugging into. If your question is, what are your programs? Are my kids going to be entertained? That's where it becomes a little dangerous. So really, you should ask the question, what's the best fit for my family as it pertains to growth, not entertainment?
Yeah, I love that. And it made me think of where we landed, which is this aircraft carrier model of the church being an aircraft carrier that fuels and supplies people who are then launching into their own worlds. And I just want to take a minute and dream about what it would really look like for us to be an aircraft carrier church.
Yeah. So let's start with the real practical. there are people that are encountering Jesus because of an invitation. Like, to me, that's the aircraft carrier model. And I don't care if that invitation is being delivered by a 12-year-old. So again, back to the family life thing, like, are your kids being challenged to be soul winners, to go out and dream about how God can use them? My testimony, kind of where I found my footing as a believer, had a lot to do with a youth pastor who was just adamant that we become soul winners. Like, I remember doing high school, quote unquote, ministry where we got kids together, and actually we outgrew the room we were in. And by the time I graduated high school, we were seeing 200 and 300 kids showing up to a Thursday Bible study. And a lot of those kids didn't know Jesus, and we were leading them to the Lord. And there wasn't really like adult oversight. Now, there was always a teacher in the room to make sure nobody was killing anybody else. But we ran that as 16 and 17-year-olds. And it instilled in me, you don't have to wait. Like, that to me is an air carrier church. When we're looking at 12-year-olds and we're saying, your friends need to hear about the love and hope of Jesus. And like, if we're dreaming for a moment, could you imagine what that looks like for, I don't know, a 35-year-old single mom who's been working, in a cubicle situation for the last 5 years, kind of dealing with some of the negative around that's happening around that office. If she could catch a vision of what God can do in that building and seeing life transformation happen at those cubicles, whether it's a Sunday Bible study or a Friday lunch Bible study, because she just really feels compelled as a prophet to kind of communicate the gospel of Jesus. Or maybe as a shepherd, she starts creating a prayer list and looking out for what's happening in people's personal lives. Like, all of those things, what an air carrier church kind of looks like and promotes and equips people to do, which is really exciting.
It is really exciting. I feel like it takes people who may feel like a lot of the time in their lives lacks purpose, or that purpose is just earning a paycheck to feed your family, and reinfuses this reality that God can use us all day, every day. We just have to open our eyes to what he's doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, awesome. I'm so excited about next week. Will you give us just a mini preview of what it's going to look like? I'm overwhelmed with the picture that's found in Ephesians 4. Just as a quick preview, in verse 7 of chapter 4 of Ephesians says, however, he has given each one of us a special gift through the generosity of Christ. That's why scripture says when he ascended to the heights, he led a crowd of captives and gave them the gift of his people. Later on in the passage, it speaks about how he ascended and yet he descends, because ultimately the person of Christ fills the whole of the universe, which is a great picture of just how Christ desired to fill everything. And the way that he fills it is in heaven, he ascended physically, spiritually, like we see that picture happening in the book of Acts where he ascends. So he's filling heaven, but here on earth, he uses us and the giftings that he's placed in us to be his representation, his ambassadors. He's making his appeal known through us that we begin to display the picture of Christ. And through the giftings, he fills the earth with who he is. To me, it's one of the most critical pictures of the church that somehow we've lost, and I'm hoping to unlock. Absolutely. And so for those of you who may not know, next week we're going to dive into the specifics.
Yes.
So absolutely know you are gifted. The Lord has given you gifts that he wants to use and activate in you, and you may have walked out being like, but what does that mean? Come to
Yes.
church this Sunday. We're going to have such a great time diving into each one of those APES parts.
I absolutely can't wait. I believe for some of you, it's going to be a journey of self-discovery that you haven't experienced, maybe even ever, but at least for a while, which I'm really excited about.
Absolutely. So we can't wait to see you guys. In the meantime, have a great week.